There's a lot of discussion about campaigns to get people involved in getting better housing stock, but what can we as people in this audience do to improve the... Hang on, sorry, I've just lost it. What can we as the audience participate in doing to actually improve the range of housing stock that's available?
That's a very good question. Suspiciously silent.
I'm like, is that...
Yeah, go for it.
One thing that I feel is that we can use local government a lot more than we currently do. They have a responsibility around planning, around how our suburbs look and feel. We need to start using our local councillors, bringing their attention to this issue, so that ultimately there'll be some work that happens on the ground in the local communities to start developing appropriate supports.
In an ideal world, all the housing that's built ever would be appropriate housing for people with disabilities. I moved into a relatively accessible apartment building recently, and it's very easy to make those things completely accessible because it's just not that hard to do those basic things. And, obviously the supports and the structures around that need to be built later. But if you've got those foundations, the literal accessible foundations, then you're halfway there if you make that housing accessible in the first place. Does anyone else? Astrid, perhaps?
Probably just to go back to a couple of issues I raised that touched on this. For those of us who've been working in the sector for a long time, the issue of actually regulating to have a requirement that all housing meets minimum universal housing designs or accessible designs is still an issue that I think we need to think about. We nearly got there in Victoria, it fell back. But I think we need to keep the push for that going. I think the groups that used to work together on this have fallen apart, so I think there's an opportunity to look again at who those groups were, and particularly in the context of the NDIS. But I think the other thing is, when you see the issues for disability alone, there's a lot in common around these issues with issues for older people as well. The aged care sector is fighting the same issues. So it's also looking across sector to look at where some of your allies might be, rather than just sticking in the disability sector.